Nigeria is one of several African countries that have eased lockdown as a result of COVID-19, following the likes of Egypt, Rwanda, South Africa, and Tunisia. In Lagos, commercial activities have partially resumed, with most people going about their normal business activities. The worry, however, is that while government continues to evolve strategies to curb the spread of COVID-19 and at the same time restart Africa's largest economy, the question of if Nigerians are adhering to the health and safety guidelines has been raised as we enter day 2 of the ease. The Nigerian Medical Association has earlier warned of a frightening scenario as the pace of new infections seems to be growing. What then should be the responsibility of every citizen in compliance with laid-down directive as people go about their day-to-day activity? That is our focus on Panorama today from the Lagos Network Center. I am Dotun Ugmiemi. Thank you for joining us. 245 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported in Nigeria. 76 in Lagos, 23 in Kano, 5 in Ogun, 9 in Bauchi, 37 in Katsina, 18 in Borno, 8 in Adamawa, 32 in Jigawa, 10 in Edo, 5 in Oyo, 1 in Ekiti, Osun, Benue, Niger, and Zamfara each. And as at 11:45 p.m., 4th of May, there were 2,802 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, with 417 patients discharged and 93 deaths recorded. This Monday participated at an online summit by non-aligned movement where heads of governments of the movement are of the view that national, regional, and global strategies would be required to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports that President Buhari at the summit assures that his administration will intensify efforts to curb community spread of the virus in Nigeria.
The coronavirus is a phenomenon that needs global efforts to solve. That's how these leaders view the pandemic, which they say has caused irreparable loss, ravaged humanity, and caused unprecedented devastation to the well-being of people, their livelihoods, and global economy. They expressed efforts of individual nations to curb the spread, but as President Muhammadu Buhari observes, it is evident that no nation can independently and single-handedly tackle the pandemic.
We must therefore form a united front against this common enemy by being coordinated and timely in our response. Furthermore, we must all encourage and empower our scientists and medical experts to join the quest for a vaccine and cure to this universal plague. In addition, we must acknowledge the central role of the United Nations and the World Health Organization in fighting the pandemic. It is therefore essential to fully collaborate and support their initiatives in coordinating the international fight against the pandemic. Such efforts should include the protection of our medical workers, the provision of medical supplies, especially test kits, and ultimately finding a vaccine to cure the disease.
The president says the task before the international community remains daunting and more needs to be done to reduce the impact of COVID-19.
In the spirit of solidarity, we must collectively appeal to international financial institutions to assist member states in cushioning the negative impact of the pandemic. In this regard, I urge them to extend concessional loans, technical assistance support, lowering of tariff on medical equipment and consumables, sharing of exercise in case management, adopting open trade policies, as well as outright debt cancellation to our member countries.
We must ensure that an effective response to COVID-19 reaches everyone, everywhere, and that they all prevails.
Exchange of medical experts and the expertise gained in the fight against the virus, sharing of information and scientific knowledge, as well as extending assistance to the countries in need, is of utmost importance.
President of the United Nations General Assembly, Tijani Muhammad Bande, pledged that his office would continue to work with the non-aligned movement to promote partnerships and galvanize the needed engagement to defeat COVID-19 and reduce its impact on communities. The theme of the extraordinary summit is United Against COVID-19 Pandemic. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NJ News.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has warned Nigerians that relaxation of the 5-week lockdown could be reverted if the guidelines it said were not strictly adhered to. Chairman of the task force, Boss Mustafa, said this warning has become necessary following clear observations of breaches of its PTF guidelines on day one of easing of the lockdown. Mitairi Ikpen reports.
This bold inscription on the podium at this PTF briefing is one of the guidelines not completely adhered to by Nigerians on the first day after the 5-week lockdown. Other noticeable violations, according to the task force, were lack of social distancing in public places and continued interstate movements despite the ban in place.
The chaotic scenes around the banks and other financial institutions indicate that there is observable high level of breaches by the citizens. The PTF fully understand the desire of Nigerians to come out, to continue their lives after 5 weeks of lockdown. State governments and security agencies have, however, been advised to enforce the measures rigidly, and violators will be prosecuted.
On the part of the banks, we've also resolved that we are going to encourage the banks to restock their ATM machines so that unless you have really need to be physically present at banks, you don't need to be there.
Yes, we might have a few extra infections today and tomorrow, but what we don't want is an explosion of new infections. If we do have that explosion, there will be almost no choice left for the leadership of the country than to ask all of us to go back into our homes.
The task force has continued to strengthen the capacity of the Kano state government to respond to the pandemic in the state.
The Federal Ministry of Health pathologist is also participating in the investigation of the unexplained deaths that were reported.
We have also mobilized 3,300 informants through the WHO polio program for a house-to-house search, and will be commencing a 7-day motorized campaign across major urban areas in Kano.
With about 4,000 Nigerians abroad interested in returning home, the Minister of Foreign Affairs says evacuation is set to commence.
The first flight that we hope by God's grace to have on Wednesday, Emirates, their flight from Dubai will be to Lagos.
Also, we are initiating a program of decontaminating and disinfecting our schools before they open.
Meanwhile, schools as well as places of worship are to remain closed. In Abuja, Mitairi Ikpen, NTA News.
As the partial ease of lockdown commences in Abuja, Kenneth Niall has a report on the situation in the FCT.
Abuja is back to life after 5 weeks of lockdown, and the residents, like birds out of a nest, flood the streets. Yes, but this partial ease-up comes with a price. Get your weapons for the virus, that is wearing of face masks and social distancing. So the security is on check for compliance. This, of course, leads to gridlock and not lockdown this time.
We are supposed to go out and come back by 2 o'clock. And now, if one spends all this time on the road, and he has not even reached the office, then yes, to a certain extent, the purpose may have been defeated.
The roads are busy, but major markets and plazas are still wearing the bad locks in their gates because they are to open only on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
They told us that all of us should go back home. They are not going to open the market.
They still lock the market. They say we not go enter. Say no until on Wednesday.
As it stands, the one we've been saving, that's the one we've been eating now, and there's no income coming in, and so everybody's tired staying at home.
While they focus attention now on the establishment of what we call neighborhood selling point that will take off pressure from markets such as this.
The crowd that we are seeing here, it's not expected of us to come out, but we don't have any option because some of us, by staying home, we are automatically losing our jobs. You can see all shops here are locked. The law enforcement agencies, they don't want us to open because of the crowd.
During the lockdown, it wasn't easy, really. But what people did not really know, the lockdown really helped. I even still hoping that they should still extend it little in order to reduce the virus.
Not a campaign ground here, but survival of the strongest, as it were, at ATM points and banking premises, because everyone tries to beat the 8 to 2 p.m. deadline in the banking hall.
When we saw what was happening, how people have gathered, we suggest very innovative ideas to them. We say all of us are not here to collect our money. Give us, some of us, those who want to transfer, give us form. When we don't feel it, we give it to you anytime and at your own will. You do the transfer. They said no, they will not do that. They prefer us clustering together.
All of us are outside stranded, so we don't know what is happening. We are calling on government to intervene. Ask them, the government should tell them that they should open all the branches.
From what I'm seeing now, maybe 2 weeks' time, I believe things will normalize.
In all, the level of compliance on wearing of face masks was on the average because all the centers make provision for washing of hands, but social distancing still left much to be desired. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
As the ease of lockdown begins, Lagos State is relatively achieving its aim of creating an environment devoid of the usual cluster of people. But more is expected from the angle of adherence to social distancing order. Amaka O has details.
The ease of lockdown is a relief to many Lagosians who are willing to comply with the guidelines put in place by the state government to contain coronavirus.
I will come out in the afternoon because of the normally come out towards the evening start. When they will close 4, I will resume my business 5.
For me, I will be here up to 4 o'clock before I go home because of the curfew.
We cited long queues at bank premises and noticed a high level of compliance with the use of face masks.
I'm happy today to come outside.
Many transporters and commercial drivers are also doing more to adhere to the rules.
Before now 7 passengers, 3 for back, 3 for middle, 1 for front. But now 5. 2 for back, 2 for middle, 1 for back.
However, the black sheep among them could not escape the wrath of enforcement agencies.
The way we got here, they said we should come down, that they're loading 22. But why don't the men are loading 344?
Officials of the Lagos State Transport Management Authority and the Nigerian Police Force are on ground to ensure that citizens and transporters, especially commercial drivers, adhere strictly to the stipulated guidelines put in place by the Lagos State government. The partial lockdown will no doubt impact the economy of Lagos, the commercial nerve center of the nation.
Today, we saw the market started a bit sloppy, but towards the end of the market picked up. We saw that in the last couple of days, the Nigerian capital market had shown its resilience. And I think it is more of the fact that people are now beginning to digest the direction of the economy. They are beginning to digest what is actually happening.
As the eased lockdown experiment continues, it is expected that citizens will take responsibility for their safety in the days ahead. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
Joining me now live via Skype to talk about the ease of the lockdown as well as its health and safety precautions as well as other things that needs to be done by Nigerians is Dr. Rita Oladele, a consultant clinical microbiologist from the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
You over the rise of COVID-19 cases in Nigeria. Can you hear me, doctor? Are you over the rise of COVID-19 cases in Nigeria?
Yes, it's pretty worrisome, but it's not as drastic as we were expecting. It's only in the next couple of days that we will know. In fact, it won't take a week for us to know the impact of what the lockdown and the easing of the lockdown has done. So the rising cases is not surprising. We're already aware that there's community transmission.
And the federal government relaxed the lockdown with the curfew in place. What are the benefits accruable from this initiative?
The benefits are for the citizens, right? A lot of people were going hungry. A lot of Nigerians live from hand to mouth, so they needed to go out there. But at the same time, I still think that the government is trying, but the National Orientation Agency also has to do their part. They need to educate the people. We have seen so many videos of people not adhering to social distancing. So the National Orientation Agency needs to educate people the more. And like I said, in their local languages or in the terminologies that they understand the need for social distancing. In the news, we saw that of the bus, some buses that were still piling up passengers. If the orientation agency will educate their unions and let their unions be the one communicate that message down and put the directives down, I'm sure we'll get better enforcement. But as a whole, I think we're on top of the game.
Like you mentioned, community transmission is an hurdle that the government needs to scale through, and unfortunately, the level of awareness at the communities is still very low. What is your suggestion to curtailing the spread at that level, community level?
At community level, like I said, the National Orientation Agency needs to step up its game. They need to engage community leaders, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the Market Women Association, the churches, the imams. They need to educate to get to the community level and engage the community leaders, because these are the people that the communities listen to. So these leaders will take the message back to their communities and enforce social distancing and the wearing of the face mask. So everybody needs to come on board on this, and the community leaders need to be carried along and given responsibility to pass down this message.
What should be the essential roles of the home and the communities talking about based on physical therapy during this pandemic?
Could you repeat that?
What should be the essential roles of the home and communities talking about physical therapy during this pandemic?
Well, like I said, it's everybody. We are all in this war against this invisible enemy together. Once we all understand our roles and we comply to it, we will defeat this. We're not the only country that is having even challenges with easing down of the lockdown. But if we educate people thoroughly, I am sure, both at home and at the community level, we will be able to overcome this.
But more people are out to carry out their daily businesses. How can respiratory distresses be managed even for people that do not have symptoms? Can you hear me, doctor? Can you hear me, doctor? All right. It seems like we're having some network issues there, but the doctor will still be on. And for now, we'll take a commercial break. The news continues shortly. Many thanks for staying. There is congestion at the Lagos ports, but the main challenge revolves around failure of some terminal operators and shipping companies to adhere to the presidential order, which are intended to lessen the burden of investors. Michael Olaleye reports that concerned freight forwarders are appealing to government to ensure that the approved waiver on demurrage and storage fees are implemented.
There is no better time for port operations to thrive than now. Waivers upon discounts, all in a bid to eliminate pressing challenges associated with business transactions caused by coronavirus. The advantages are numerous for the maritime environment that has continually battled congestion, but a seemingly radiant opportunity is gradually becoming gloomy due to the persistence of terminal operators and shipping companies to disobey the demurrage and storage waiver directive.
The importers may have no other option than to pass some of these charges, these arbitrary charges, down to the consumers. And this is not helping the situation in the country. And this is going against the federal government directives.
We cannot say because of terminal operators, then we will spoil the business we are doing. So let us watch government to know maybe if they will actually instruct them back to withdraw this demurrage they say we should pay.
The federal government is intervening through the appropriate agencies by threatening to sanction violators, but there is concern about how quick this will be implemented.
Let there be a presidential executive order from the presidency. Once TDO is being written in the terminal, the demurrage should cease counting.
The demurrage suspension will end, and then we can negotiate, further with the companies. It's always good to negotiate and discuss with the shipping companies. We don't just issue decree like that.
The abolition of deposits for return of empty containers is one of the measures the freight forwarders say is crucial to reducing congestion at the ports. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
In the meantime, as residents of Lagos State resume their daily activities with the partial relaxation of the lockdown, the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has called on those who must go out of their homes to still avoid the streets as the fight against the virus continues. Governor Sanwo-Olu made the emphasis in a statewide broadcast as the partial relaxation takes effect. Nosa Usla reports.
The governor, who warned commercial transporters and others serving the public to strictly adhere to the guidelines issued by the state government or risk being prosecuted, said that only civil servants on level 15 and above should resume from Tuesday. He added that affected civil servants on levels 15 and above living in Ogun State should adhere to the order of Ogun State's governor till 9th of May.
Food markets will be open only on Tuesdays, on Thursdays and Saturdays from the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. However, other markets that are selling building materials, spare parts, non-food markets will be open on Mondays, on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Governor Sanwo-Olu disclosed that residents whose vehicles were impounded on or before the 14th of April can from Tuesday go and start collecting their seized vehicles free of charge.
And I'm happy to pass on the 3 telephone numbers that we've set up for whistleblowing, for people to complain if they think that the companies are not keeping to the social distancing or the physical distancing that has been stated, or if buses are not complying, or if markets are not complying. So the numbers are 0901 051 3197, 3198 and 3199.
The governor urged elderly members of the society to remain at home because of their age, which makes them most vulnerable to COVID-19. In Lagos, Nusa Osula, NTA News.
And that's it on Panorama from the Lagos Network Center. Many thanks for watching. Good afternoon.